So if you didn't see, today was a rough day. But there was one funny thing that happened, okay? So I hadn't gone to my P.O. box in a while. And I was expecting a package there, which I got. I'll do an unboxing probably tomorrow. But there was something else in there, and I reach for it, and I look, and it says Buck and Buck. And I'm like, is this a hate crime? Like, what is this? What is Buck and Buck? I'm like, this looks real suspicious. It come to find out, it's just like an elderly magazine. It went to the wrong P.O. box. But dead ass. I just seen this. I just saw this guy in Buck and Buck, and I'm like, damn this town. So my kid has not just made one PowerPoint presentation about my journey with acne. He has made 3 renditions of it. I'll show you. So I'm going to show you the first one, which is really just, displaying a picture of one side of my acne on my face with various other effects. Happy cars make a happy, happy family. Then he made another one where he had 2 copies of my acne progress, like, chasing each other. Happy cars make a happy, happy family. And last but not least, he did a version where he also included my 6th grade, student picture, but also with my acne picture. Happy cars make a happy, happy family. So yeah, we love to see it. Here's another roast from my kid for you. Well, really, it's for me. The roasts are always against me. Except when he calls my husband Susan. I was going through my phone and deleting videos, and I found this little number, where he is making fun of my bald head. Just as an FYI, if you didn't catch my Avi, obviously I strikingly resemble Bobby Hill, so that's like my picture on everything, my avatar, Bobby Hill with a king tattoo. So as a lot of you know, I love Christmas. I love the holidays, but especially Christmas. And my son, he shares this love for Christmas with me, except he's not as delicate as he could be with Christmas ornaments. Let me explain what I mean. So this is my small little Christmas village this year, right? So you see it, here it is. Now, in this sled, you can see that there's a boy and a girl, and he also put a nutcracker in there. He always is messing with my village. That's what this whole thing is about. But you would just think that that's just, 3 or 2 people in a nutcracker enjoying a sleigh ride, right? Well, actually, I had to put them in the sleigh like that because my son ripped them off. Another Christmas decoration. Now, okay, I know. Every time I do this, people are like, watch out. Get the f***. My kid just loves Christmas, and he doesn't understand if they're gonna make decorations, why do they not make the decorations mobile? Why do they always plaster them to a platform? Why? It's not as fun. So anyways, yeah, he ripped these off, and that's why I have to disguise it and make it look like they're riding in the sleigh, sorry. He also did this with Santa on my Santa and snowman decoration. As you can see, all that were left were Santa's leather boots. So another thing, and my son felt so bad about this. I felt bad because he felt so bad. It was like, okay. But he accidentally broke this horse, like this rocking horse, Christmas rocking horse, and the leg broke off. It's very, very old. And he felt so bad that I guess he just couldn't, like, exclude, the rocking horse from the Christmas village. So he laid his leg in the middle. The reason he didn't put the whole rocking horse there is because I have it in a different section, so I think he just wanted to leave it the way it was, and then he just threw the leg in the middle, so it's like, a part of him's there. So this is possibly my favorite part. Okay, so you see this little guy right here. So he's just supposed to be standing up, with a scroll, talking to Santa Claus, you know what I mean? It's a little elf. And so he's supposed to be standing up straight like this. He bends, like, back and forth, kinda. So that's him right there. My son insists that the Christmas mailbox must go there, and it, like, crushes the elf. So then I always have to bend him back and move the mailbox. And for all the naysayers that are gonna be like, nah, man, that's messed up, bro. My kid's autistic. He loves Christmas, and sometimes the way he expresses it, maybe, he could be a little bit gentler. But just to show how much he adores Christmas. This is him walking around in Christmas stockings the other day. He also had an elf hat on and everything, but yeah, I got a kick out of him wearing our stockings as actual stockings. Oh my gosh, I love this question. So this is me like literally right before I started talking to my husband. I should grow my facial hair out again and stay bald. Okay, but at this point in my life, honestly, I had just accepted that I likely would never have like a long-term relationship or get married or anything. And that's because, like, I kinda came to the realization that, when you're dating and you have a child that has disabilities, a lot of people act like they have empathy and they think it's admirable when you tell them, listen, okay, I have a kid that could potentially live with me for the rest of my life and rely on me for the rest of my life. And a lot of them will be like, oh my god, that's so sweet, you're such a good parent. But then when they see what actually goes into taking care of a child with disabilities, they're like, ooh, they ain't ready for it. So I just accepted it. I'm like, alright, I'm gonna have fun, date, whatever. He was with his dad on the weekends, and yeah, that's kind of how I figured it. Then I started talking to this dude on a dating site who had just entered like Job Corps. He was in building construction technology. He ended up graduating from it. And he was like almost getting his life together, like he was on the right track, but he wasn't quite there yet. He was still getting like shit faced every weekend, as you can see. But like we really hit it off. We started FaceTiming and stuff, and honestly, I still wasn't ready for commitment, and I kind of ghosted him a little bit. But we ended up keeping in touch. But my liver ended up failing on testosterone. I have videos on why I chose to detransition for a short period. It lasted like a month and a half. I ended up detransitioning and presenting feminine for a little bit. And honestly, I ghosted on my husband because he likes dudes. So I was like, there's no way he's gonna stay with me looking like this. No way. But even looking like this, he was in my inbox and he's like, listen, did you ghost on me because you thought I wouldn't be interested because you had to detransition? And I'm like, well, yeah. And he was like, well, that's not true at all. I'm definitely still interested in you. And during this time frame is when he actually found a way to come see me. This is us on our first date at McDonald's because that's the only thing that was open besides bars. And he was trying to stay sober and I was sober, so McDonald's it was. And it's so funny because like when I had to go off testosterone, I had massive anxiety. It was a rough time. And I told him, I'm like, listen, I don't even know how long I'm gonna last on this date. Like, I felt like I was jumping out of my skin most of the time, but I met him and it was like smooth sailing. I just felt like I was at home. And we've been together ever since. And of course, he's fantastic with my son. We waited a while to introduce him, but they got along great. We're very lucky. Hi, thank you for your question. I have a cold, so don't mind that I'm stuffy right now. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you for asking this in such a kind manner. I really appreciate it. Because a lot of times, just because I'm trans, people presume that my son must not know his biological father or have any connection with him. So I definitely appreciate that you worded it like this in like a nice way. My husband is not my son's biological father. My son's biological father passed away when he was 7 years old. He lost his battle with addiction. I think that's the only way I'm allowed to say it on here. It's something I'm very open and honest about with my son. A lot of people might not agree with that, but to me, having like an open and honest line of communication when it comes to like, addiction and mental health, like even from a young age, I believe those things are very important to discuss. I can only speak about my relationship with my son's father really because it's not my place to talk about the relationship my son had with him. He was very close with him, I will say that. He knew his dad, he was close with his dad, he saw his dad frequently. I can only speak from my perspective and, my experiences with my son's father, that, him not being with us, although it's sad and I feel for my son, I do feel that all of us are a lot safer. My son's father pled guilty to simple assault against me. He was also going to be charged with attempted, against me. It was all caught on surveillance, and I said nothing happened, so they couldn't press charges. By the time my son's father passed away, he had, I believe it was 7 victims, and that's just legal victims. As in, those were just the cases that went to court and he was convicted of. I can't speak on the relationship that my son had with his father. Even if I knew more, I probably wouldn't because I feel like that's his story. But just based on my experience, my story, and the story of other adults that I know were his victims, I am happy that there will be no more victims. I think everybody's a lot safer. My husband literally has been so supportive throughout everything. Like, before he even moved here, like, moved in with me, he had a job set up. He paid thousands for a lawyer. There's so many instances that, like, us as a family, like, my husband, my son, and I were put into, from my son's father that were really dangerous, where my husband could have just thrown in the towel and been like, yeah, this is too much for me, I'm out. But he always stuck by us, and we're just very lucky to have him. And even through the grieving process, because when somebody passes away, the cycle of abuse does not end. So I did grieve my son's father a lot. And my husband was supportive through all that, which it takes a very mature person to be supportive through that. Now the rose-colored glasses are off, and I see reality. We're safer. Listen. Okay, so this dude came to my page, right, on a video of me talking about parenting, and he was, like, telling me about how my son's gonna be so confused and everything, blah, blah. But this line, it just cracked me the fuck up. I can't stop thinking about it. He says to me, instead of your son wondering one day, am I gonna go to school for a trade, or am I gonna go to school for a doctorate? He's gonna say to himself, should I be a boy or a girl? Like, what are you gonna do when you find out that most people who hold doctorates support the science behind trans people, gay people, etc.? I don't know about you, but when I came out as trans to my parents, I sat them down. I said, listen, I'm transitioning to male. I'm giving up college. I want no education from this point forward. You can't be trans and educated. Pick a fucking struggle. I've graduated college, by the way. Dean's List, bitch. So when I was pregnant, and yes, I've been pregnant, this was me once in a blue moon. I know, it is utterly shocking. But yeah, before my transition, I had a biological son. I still got him. I know, it's wild. But anyways, when I was pregnant, I quickly learned that one of the most mortifying things that other moms would tell you is that you might take a huge dookie during birth. Now, yeah, since I mentioned it, this video is going to get a little graphic, so if you can't tolerate it, move on. Now, looking back, it's like, why would anybody give a shit? You're pushing out a human. It's like a superpower, an amazing ability. Who cares what else comes out your body in the meantime, as long as you're safe and the baby's safe? But oh, they had successfully instilled that fear in me, and I was shook. I was gonna do anything in my power to not allow my baby's daddy or anyone around him to know the ruin that could come out of my ass when need be. I mean, I'm sure he had an idea. I mean, how do you hide it when you live with someone for years? But still, I wasn't gonna be one of those people. I wasn't gonna shit myself during birth. I literally was preparing for this. I'm like, okay, if I stop eating at this time and I do this way, maybe I won't have to go. It's gonna be fine, it's gonna be fine. Why did I care? Anyways, I've talked about it before, but, labor and, pre-labor, whatever, was, pretty easy for me. But what I did feel, my number one symptom, is I had massive diarrhea. They tried to tell me that's unrelated. No, you must have had a stomach bug when you gave birth. No. No. I knew when that started happening that I was going to have that kid in the next 24 hours, and I did. Well, let me tell you something, okay? When you go 12 hours just shitting your fucking brains out full circle, and you're about to drop a kid out of you, the last thing you care about is shitting on a table. I don't care who was there in the audience. Take a big whiff, bitch. The night before, I was starving. I was ravenous. I was so hungry. I was getting all these tests done in the hospital before they admitted me. They wouldn't let me eat, and I wanted food. But nothing was open. It was like fucking midnight or something. I told my baby's daddy, I'm like, you go out there and you just find something. And he did. Like a day-old bacon, egg, and cheese from Dunkin' Donuts with, like, stale hash browns. It didn't do anything good for the shitting situation. Because I was ripping ass so bad when I was asleep that night that I was waking myself up. Never mind his family. So yeah, I shit on the table. And how do I know I shit on the table? Because I was watching Ella Enchanted when I was giving birth. It was chill, it was fine. But when I looked down, I saw the doctor do one of these numbers. Alright, you guys, I'm still a little sniffly, but I wanted to tell you this. So, my son, he tends to, like, be very specific when it comes to, like, times and stuff. He wants to know the time for everything. He likes setting timers. Well, last night it was bedtime, and we're like, okay, it's time for bed, and he was doing something on his phone. I'm like, what is he doing? He was very adamant on doing it. He was setting a timer for 8 hours, because we always say you should sleep at least 8 hours. Sorry, I'm still a little sick. So, he was literally setting a clock for 8 hours, and then when I'm like, no, we're not going to do that, because, you know, what if he needed a little more sleep than that? And plus, 8 hours from 7:30 is like, what? Not that late. So I was like, no. So then he goes into the living room and he tries to set a timer on the cable box. Anything for a timer. So, oh my God, I'm getting names confused. I do this all the time. My husband went out and got him a digital clock to put in his room, so he can have his own alarm, so he knows, like, okay, it's time to get up for school. I don't know what we're going to do on weekends, because my husband's like, well, just take it away on weekends. I'm like, that's not going to work, because he's going to rely on this. We're going to need to be up at the same time every day, but if we don't get him a clock, he's going to be even more overwhelmed, so hopefully it works. But look, so this was very affordable. I forget how much, but it tells the weather as well. And you know how he's been about the weather lately, so he'll have something every single day that'll tell him the weather. And what else does it show? The month, the date, like the month and the day. Oh my God, and it has the real time and then the alarm. I think he'll really like it. I'll let you know. Here's a story for you about when my son was an infant. Yeah, I know. I gotta reiterate. I have a biological son. Like, did you actually? Yeah, I did. This was me once upon a time, baby. When you look at us side by side, it looks like the old me and the me now are a couple with a restraining order. Tell me it don't. So anyways, my son was a newborn and I was with my baby's daddy. Yes, I also had a baby's daddy. Used to, past tense. I'd explain why, but this video is already gonna have too many trigger warnings. And I hate trigger warnings. But I love accommodation. So anyways, my son wakes up from a nap, right? He's covered in sweat. Covered. His onesie is drenched. We start to get nervous. Like, does he have a fever? Like, the thermometer wasn't saying he had a fever, but like, what is this? The heat wasn't super high. Like, what was going on? So I changed him. He laid down, and what do you know? He sweat right through another one. I called his doctor. I'm like, ring, mister. I don't know what to do. He's sweating through everything. I don't know. I don't know if maybe he has a fever. We're not getting it. I'm so scared. And see, he was a preemie, and because of that, they're like, you really need to go. Like, they took him more seriously. They're like, you need to get him checked out. Like, it could be serious. Now, see, we didn't have a car, because we had no business having a child at all. I mean, so glad I did. But I mean, let's be real. I'm good at it now, but it took a while. Anyway, so we always had to go everywhere in, like, this hoopty that my ex-father-in-law had. Bless him, he's a wicked good guy. But it was broken, of course, so we couldn't take that. So I had to call my mom and be like, Mom, I think something's wrong with the baby. We need to go to the ER. So we're on our way to the hospital, and I'm like crying. I'm so nervous, right? And my son's father, we gotta like pull over for him so he can like puke his brains out, you know? Not because he was so nervous. He was dope sick. I was such an idiot, though. Like, I didn't know what was going on. I was in denial. I mean, I was messed up myself, but I didn't know he was doing actual dope. My mom's like, what's wrong with him? I'm like, I don't know. I think he has diabetes. Like, what the fuck? Well, anyways, we get to the hospital, right? And I'm just, he's sweating through whatever he has on again. So I'm like, I'm so nervous. We're in the waiting room. There's another woman with like a kid in the waiting room. And she sees we got a preemie. And she's like mad for us that it's taken so long for us to be seen. She's like, listen, this baby probably has a fever. And you're not even taking him in soon. Oh my God, this is a catastrophe. She was one of those moms with, like, the messy buns, the pajama pants, and, like, usually I don't get along with them, but, like, I see you. So we finally get taken in, right, thanks to the woman who's, like, causing a ruckus from the heart. So they call us in. I quickly put my son on the table, okay, and they're examining him, and it's pee. It's pee. I don't, maybe I put his diapers on wrong. The whole time, it was just pee. The worst part was my son's father had posted about it on Facebook, like, prayers needed. He just wrote a comment underneath it later, like, never mind.